All right, a few more minutes and then we can get started. But how's everyone's week going so far? I know it's only Tuesday, so I'm sure we're all struggling a bit, but getting there, hopefully. Good. See some thumbs up. Awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm going out of town tomorrow, so I've just been trying to get done a bunch of stuff, and it's been a hectic past 2 days.
Yeah, the like pre-out of town procedures that yeah, everyone knows this is the worst.
The main pipeline for water in our city broke down, so the toilets can't flush at work. And so when I'm in summer school right now, teaching summer school, so they said that for us to stay home, we could stay home or go to school. But either way, if we stay home or go to school, we do lesson plans.
Oh man. Okay, wow. Pipes breaking, that's sounds awful. Hopefully quickly resolved. It doesn't impact you and your family too much.
No, it means I get the day off, even though they say we do lesson plans.
Oh, there we go. Then silver lining always.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I definitely want to, one, respect everyone's time, but two, get into the panel because we do only have an hour. So I will go ahead and get started. Hello again. I hope you all are having a good week so far. Thank you for coming out today to our Teacher to Tech workshop. I'm super excited to moderate the session because we have a great hour lined up for you as you are all looking to transition, out of the classroom and into tech. Feel free to take notes, talk to other people in the chat, throw your questions in the chat, build a community. Like this session is really for all of you to take away whatever you need to take away and make sure that it's the most, impactful hour for you all. So since we do only have an hour, I want to briefly go over the agenda so that we can dive into the amazing panel and guest speakers that we have lined up. So we'll start with a quick round of introductions, and then we'll go into the bulk of the workshop, which, as I mentioned, is a moderated panel. All of the questions we'll be asking actually came from your responses during your registration form. So thank you for adding those questions. We consolidated them. And so we're really going to be touching on a lot of the frequently asked questions that you all shared. We're also going to try to squeeze in some Q&A at the end of the session, but depending on how the flow of the conversation and the panel, we might not have all the time. So feel free to add your questions in the chat as you see fit. And if someone else has an experience in that space or knows the answer or just wants to chime in, feel free to do that too. Again, it's an open space for everyone to kind of really share their thoughts and sort of where they are in this process. And then I'll send over we'll kind of wrap up and then let you all get back to your week. So I wanted to quickly first introduce myself. My name is Yada. I am a program manager at Coursera for my 9-to-5. Coursera is an ed tech company. And if any of you all have seen the, Google certifications, like the project management one or the data analytics one, my team helped actually build some of that. So super invested in ed tech as a whole and education. Outside of the 9-to-5, I work with Techsgiving, which is an organization that actually put this event together. And we do a lot of work within underrepresented communities, exposing them to, tech content, resources, and education. We are pretty global. We just had an event in DC, as well as we were in Atlanta for the Render ATL conference. So I will definitely share more Techsgiving links at the end of the session, but definitely would love to see you at other spaces. I will now pass it over to the panel because no one is here to listen to me talk about myself. So I will let the panelists introduce themselves and we can start in order of appearance on the panel or the page. So Gianni.
Hey everyone, I'm Gianni LaTange. Keep it short and sweet. I'm a developer advocate at Zoom. as well as I run a financial freedom platform called First Gen Money Musings. I was an elementary school teacher for 4 years before transitioning into tech via a boot camp. So excited to chat with y'all some more.
Awesome. Pearl?
Hi, everyone. Great to have y'all here. I'm Pearl. I work as a senior solutions engineer at Databricks. I am a data scientist by trade. I actually taught middle school math and high school math, but specialized more so in the high school math. On the side, I run my own tutoring company, which is great. And I taught for about almost 3 years, like 2.5 and some change. And I'm excited to be here with y'all and talk to y'all about my journey and how y'all can get started as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and get into the nitty gritty because I know that is what we are here for. So let me pin our panel and I will go ahead and get started. So first question, educators have a ton of transferable skills, things like problem solving, communication, etc. Based on these transferable skills, what are some of the best roles to transition to into tech?
Awesome. So I can get started on that. I think some of the easiest roles to pivot into are the ones that relate to some sort of educational component within tech. So if y'all want to take some of these notes down, some of those titles you can look for are like instructional developer, curriculum developer, instructional designer, but sometimes you'll see developer along with that as well. Learning management, facilitator, administrator, things of that nature, those are going to be some of the most easy ones. And just to summarize, those positions usually require you designing educational content for an adult audience for internal training at a company. So whether it be like onboarding material or something else that's really critical to business priorities, that's a really easy space where I see a lot of educators pivoting into. So if you search for those titles on LinkedIn, you'll notice that quite a few of them might have had previous experience as teachers.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gianni. I'm not going to piggyback off it because you explained everything perfectly. But I guess as a, not necessarily opposition to that, I don't think there's a great and concrete way to answer just because I think it also lies with your interest. For me, the data science route was easy for me. If you ask somebody else, they'd be like, heck no, I'm not into stats, I'm not into coding, that's not my interest. So I think with finding an easy job or a role in tech would also rely on, well, what do you find easy? Easy is relative, right? You know, even with your students, some students might find some material easy and some others might not. But it's all about what you're interested in as well. Of course, like Gianni said, having an educational based background is an easy segue into an educational technology type of company or entering into tech. But there's other things that you could do. I'm currently in a sales kind of role. Guess what? Teaching didn't really teach me to be good at sales, but it did actually teach me to be interested and be able to be personable and relatable to others. And so that's how my skills personally transfer over into the work that I do. So without talking too much, I would recommend also find what you're interested in and understand that regardless of what route you take, easy is relative. That's just my take.
Amazing. Yeah, easy is definitely relative, and it kind of segues into our next question of like, based off of sort of, you have these skills, you have these interests, but educators have applied their skills and interests in an education capacity. So how do you think you can kind of build those soft skills, build the confidence with those soft skills to transfer that from an educational background to applying that to sort of a technical context? And I think a big piece of that question is one, how do you just deal with imposter syndrome in a space that you're just not familiar with?
Sorry, I went to unmute and then clicked open another app. I would say some of the things, one of the most targeted actionable things you can do is once you identify some of these titles, and I dropped some of the ones that I mentioned in the chat, it's very important to go through a few job descriptions for those titles and parse out what is the lingo that they're using to describe the job, and figure out, basically translate it into layman's terms or into terms where you can identify, oh, actually I did this. So for example, if you look at a project manager position where they might say something like cross-team collaboration, that's something that many teachers have to do, period, when it comes to liaising between parents, students, administration, right? You're doing cross-team collaboration there, or negotiation. So think about what are those skill sets that they're highlighting and how does it apply to your specific experience, and then use those same terms to talk about your experience, and just kind of practice communicating with that very language. And then as another tangible action step, I would say leverage your resources, especially the free ones. Like LinkedIn Learning is one that I swear by because they have so many amazing courses and you can access it for free for most of the times with a .edu email address or with a library card, depending on your state or jurisdiction. But I would just type in project management and then see what are those really popular courses, and then start taking some of those courses to really embed the lingo and the technical frameworks so that it's easier to communicate in that sort of terminology and build that confidence.
Honestly, you took everything I wanted to say. But I guess to add on to that, you know what? I actually just made a tweet recently about, understanding that no matter what line of work, but obviously tech, since that's what I'm in, is to really believe that you do have a seat at the table. I know when I first started, of course, I was a bit nervous for sure because I had been so used to a certain industry, a certain line of work, a certain process, a certain routine, and waking up one day and realizing this is not for me and I actually want to attack something new was very scary, but it was very necessary because that's what really drove me to continue um, the journey to tech. Honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and say that the process is easy, and truthfully, I'm not going to be cliche and say it's worth it, because even when you do make it to tech, you still will experience some things that you might have experienced as a teacher. You might have colleagues talking over you during the stand-up call. You may get skipped out on promotion. I know when I was working as a data scientist, I got skipped over because I fell through the cracks because there were so many of us wanting to get promoted. Those things happen, and I want you to know that um, it's not the end of the world. It's really not. I want you to be patient, and I want you to know that, throughout this process, even when you make it, you still might feel you're not able. But I feel like you're here. You went through the journey. You sat down, taught yourself how to code, figured out what skills you needed, uh, meant to get a degree, went to a boot camp, whatever that you did, that was the hard part. So now you've gotten over that hump. You got to start seeing yourself as somebody that is capable and is able to do the job, whether or not you're transitioning from teaching, nursing, any kind of background. I know this is a teaching one, but I just wanted to kind of encourage you in a sense and know that no matter what, no matter where you go, you will fit right in, but just keep an open mind and understand that, you know, you are the prize and you do have a seat at the table, and you must be able to advocate for yourself as well as you go through this journey.
Thank you. And kind of bouncing off of this, just sort of imposter syndrome or really not knowing sort of how to navigate this initially, did you have any sort of people you leaned on, resources that you used? Like, what was that, whether at your new role, at your previous role, or just what kind of community did you seek or build?
Yeah, so I can start there. For me, I really leverage Twitter, particularly Black tech Twitter, because I'm Black and that felt most accessible for me. And it was just such an encouraging environment to see so many other people transitioning to tech or people who had already successfully done so. And it just was a constant stream of inspiration as well as collective and communal knowledge sharing that I was really able to help just encourage me along my journey. Additionally, really immersing myself in a lot of content related to tech outside of Twitter. So on Reddit or on TikTok, that was also helpful for me. And I mean, because as far as my immediate network, I probably was one of the first to transition into tech. So a lot of it was done on my own, but I did struggle a little bit with the confidence factor for that because I was trained as a software engineer. And then as I was doing my software engineering teaching fellowship, which I did right after I completed my boot camp, that's when I started questioning whether I wanted to be a software engineer full-time in the traditional sense, even though a developer advocate is a software engineer, but we essentially teach and help other developers. So I'm not working on production code where I'm pushing out a feature for a product for my company, but after post-production, I'm then educating other developers on how to utilize and implement that. So that is what helped me to really kind of figure out what are the alternatives to getting into tech. So I remember on YouTube following one of my friends who went to my college. She had posted a YouTube video talking about how she had she's pivoted from her software engineering job into her current role as developer advocate. And that was the first time I heard that. But because I had immersed myself in that community, that's where I was able to discover this newfound role. And it turned out to be the perfect fit for me.
Perfect. Awesome. Switching gears a little bit to a topic that is probably top of mind for all of us, finances. What is sort of the general best practice or plan if, finances play a major role in your search? What if you're unable to quit your job or you already recommitted to a new school year? Like, what is the best way to sort of approach this when you also have lots of other things in terms of finances to address and deal with?
This is my forte because I am a stickler for spending. I did not want to go back to school. Oh my gosh. I didn't. I ended up doing so, but that I will discuss why. I think you have to choose what's best for you. I know if you choose a boot camp, um, they do offer scholarships. What my boyfriend's sister, she actually enrolled in a boot camp where they gave her full ride to the whole boot camp, and then on top of that, helped her find a job after, which was really really great. So there are opportunities like that. I'll have to find out the name of that one that she did, but boot camps are a great way because they kind of accelerate your learning and accelerate that journey to tech. And I'm not going to say that it depends on what you think affordable is. Some people think, oh, it's affordable because eventually they'll be able to pay it off or pay it back double, like even triple, because of the kind of role they're trying to enter. Um, so I think boot camps are a great way to go. But for me, I always tell people this, and they don't like it. I'm all about starting off with free resources. YouTube is a great place. Like Gianni said, LinkedIn is a great place. When I first started, wasn't even thinking about going back to school, wasn't thinking about boot camps. I was like, where can I start learning for free? Because this teaching salary is not gonna cut it. And so I will say YouTube was my best friend. I would look up the different roles, like a day in the life of a data scientist or like a day in the life of a data analyst, and see what they do day to day. And I found a lot of what they did was more up my alley in terms of the statistics, but also conveying those insights to, business leaders and things of that nature. The first book that I ever bought was How to Automate with Python, because I knew that if I wanted to be a data scientist or I wanted to work with data, I'd have to know how to code. And apparently at the time, Python was hot, and I was told to buy the book. That wasn't necessarily free, but it was very, very cheap. So you can start there as well. LinkedIn now, because I started my journey around 2018, 2019. LinkedIn right now has so many free resources. Every time I get on there, it's like a how-to guide on SQL, and it's like 10 pages long, and it literally outlines every single thing you need to know to be successful in SQL. I think that's amazing. That wasn't around when I was trying to figure things out. So definitely leverage LinkedIn for sure. Um, and then really think about whether or not you, after you've exhausted all your free resources, think about the role, talk to other people, and see if you really do need to go back to school. Think about the structure that you may or may not need. I know some people are not self starters. At the time, that was not me. I'm currently a self starter now. My roles had made me a self starter. But if you need that structure in a classroom environment, um, and you're willing to, take out a $20,000 or so loan, and that's affordable to you because you'll eventually pay that off in due time, I think that you should go for it, because right when I got into my master's program, literally put it on my resume, like the start date and to present, that was when all the recruiters started blowing me up, asking me to like interview, invited to different opportunities, just because I got into school for that particular degree plan, which was a master's in stats. So sometimes that's all it really takes, is for you to show that, I don't have the background, but I'm trying either through a boot camp, I'm trying through a self-study, and here's my portfolio, here's my GitHub, or I'm trying, and here I am trying to pursue a degree. So find what works for you, find what your costs are, but definitely start with free, because free can take you a long way. Free got me a few interviews in the beginning. So that's my take.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about just moving from a teaching position into self-study or a boot camp study, and how to be financially strategic on that front. So yes, definitely leverage scholarships if you do want to go the boot camp route for technical roles. For the roles that I identified, you do not need a boot camp. You can look those up on LinkedIn Learning, and there are plenty of courses and resources for that. And this is why, for me, I say it's going to be the easiest roles to go after for you to transition directly from your role as a teacher to one of those positions, because they are non-technical. All it is about rebranding and rephrasing whatever it is that you're currently doing using the language of the job descriptions. Okay, so just again, to emphasize, you don't need a boot camp for any of the ones that I dropped in the chat. For me, because I went the software engineering route, I did go to a boot camp because I needed that sort of accountability and community. I was working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it was a full-time boot camp, Monday through Friday, which really helped me learn the material faster. So it saved me money by saving me time on the front end, and really just helping to ramp up my skills really quickly to get into a tech company, right? So right after my fellowship, I had a couple of full-time offers from a few different companies that are like well-known within this software engineering space. As far as what it helped for my finances, I saved as much money as possible. And I also took advantage of having a roommate so that I would be paying less money for my housing accommodations. And I also took out 0% interest credit cards so that it would pay for my expenses during that transition, because I did quit my job. Well, I didn't quit per se, but I didn't renew my contract for the following school year. So 0% interest credit cards will give you generally 12 to as much as 18 months of time where you can use the credit and not collect any interest. So you can just make a minimum payment per month, like it might be $50 or something like that. And that gives you time to really transition into whatever it is that you're doing in tech, and then you can pay that back off. Of course, you have to be mindful about your spending because you don't want to have too high of a debt, but it's a way to get around taking out a huge loan or something like that. So that's something I recommend. And then maybe also doing something part-time where you're tutoring, and then using those education skills, doing Uber. Was I muted this entire time?
Just a bit, yeah.
Oh my God, no one said anything? I'm so sorry.
Just the tail end.
No,
of what you said.
just the last bit. You were okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Lord. All right. So what was the last thing that y'all heard?
You said that you took out the credit cards and that's what worked for you.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that helped for me. And I would just, if you do need extra income because inflation is crazy right now, things are very expensive, then leveraging some side hustles where maybe you're tutoring. A lot of people can get money from that. If you're a great swimmer, I know that doing like mommy and me classes are really great for people. Like I know a lot of people who make great money doing that. You can even become a notary where you can take like a short course, and basically a notary is someone who is a third party for official documents. So say someone's signing a contract for a house or whatever, and they need a notary present, you can get paid like $100 per hour. So there's a lot of these like little options to help like increase your money and just support you during that transition.
Perfect. Kind of related to the boot camps, how did you, for those looking to transition into more technical roles, deal with the challenge of learning just technical skills as a whole, despite not being from a technical background? Like outside of the boot camp, were there other resources that you all tapped into? How did you kind of level up in that space?
I'll let Gianni answer that just because I didn't go the boot camp route, so I think she'd have a better idea of how that works. So
yeah, so I made sure to research the bootcamp very thoroughly. You can use something like Course Report, which also has a bunch of scholarships available for different technical focuses. So definitely leverage Course Report. Just search blank area focus scholarship on Google. But I knew that the bootcamp that I was going to had this sort of teaching style that I knew was beneficial to me. So, and y'all might be familiar with this as teachers, but like an I do, we do, you do. So teacher leads, and then we collectively work on the area of focus, and then you do some independent work, and then it's collaborative again where you're doing pair programming. So identifying what your learning style is and going for boot camps that cater to that way that can increase your success with the material, and also really leveraging my peers to do that continuous study, be it on the weekends or after class, also tapping into community, but really also just taking care of yourself to really sustain your studies, because it can't just be study 100% of the time, you're going to burn out, but making sure you're taking time for rest. And that is super critical when it comes to these technical roles, such as software engineer, developer advocate, data scientist, because a lot of times those solutions come to you after rest. So there are a number of times where I am stuck on a bug and I go to sleep and I get the solution in my sleep, and then I wake up and I do it. So yeah.
I bet you're thinking about your work while you're sleeping, or it's just like a natural sort of, let me fix this, I know what to do. It's kind of like a shower thought. It's like, oh yeah, that works there. Before we kind of transition to another question, I do, and I'm not, trying to plug my job or anything, but I think similar to what Pearl and Gianni have said, there are so many sort of like things that you can just tap into just to get your feet wet and see how you feel about them. So Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Udacity, like all of these e-learning spaces have super short courses that you can just take for like a week even, and just see if the content that they're sharing is something that is relevant, interesting, something that you want to explore more, versus, just going immediately to a boot camp and being like, nah, this is actually not what I want to do. So definitely do your research. Yes, Coursera does offer. Lauren also works at Coursera, so that's great. Look at us just like overpowering this this meeting today. But yeah, just definitely do your research and make sure that whatever you're looking to do is something that is interesting, and not just sort of, I have to get out, so let me beeline to the easiest thing. Okay, so that was sort of the research phase of this. In terms of the application, how would you make an education resume stand out against candidates who already have a sort of tech background or extensive tech experience?
Yeah, I can definitely answer this because I know I sent so many resumes in the beginning until a special someone let me know that although my resume was gorgeous, that I needed to focus more on finding roles that I knew that I could potentially do and using the same kind of lingo or words that was within the job description in my resume. And then also not using so much of my time to just go through LinkedIn and hit apply and put my resume and hit apply, put my resume, and more so network with individuals that were within the company or even recruiters that were posting the job, um, to kind of get my resume under some real set of eyes. So a key thing you need to understand when it comes to recruiting any type, but specifically tech recruiting, certain jobs, maybe quite a few, get tons and tons of applicants. And I know this because my boyfriend is a recruiter, and sorting through them, it takes time. And there's a lot of times where, after you've looked at 7 out of the like 85, you kind of have a feel of who you want to kind of move to the next round. And so the rest are kind of just there in limbo. So then you're just like, and your resume might be part of those 75 or 85 that are left over. So what you want to do is first take your resume, take the job description, split your screen in two, have your resume on the left or the right, whatever you want, have the job on the right, and look through their qualifications first, of course, see if you would meet the basic, which is maybe they need just a bachelor's degree, or maybe they need like a year or two of leadership position. And maybe you're an assistant principal, maybe you're a team lead for your department, or maybe you're a department chair. And that could work too. It's just a matter of how you word it. So if you were a department chair and the job is maybe, let's say, a project manager, then a project manager, that requires leadership skills. It's a very functional role. I mean, it can be technical sometimes, but most of the time it is a functional role. And so it requires you to have managerial and leadership skills. And if you take your resume and you cater what you've done as a teacher to emphasize your leadership skills, that would be a great starting point. Recruiters also go through keywords. So if keywords match if your resume has keywords that match the job description, that's also a leg up as well. But my main thing is avoid going to LinkedIn, Indeed, and just applying, because really you might be applying to a black hole. And so I think that talking with an individual as part of the company, let's say you want to work for Netflix, you think you qualify for a certain role, you're interested in that certain role, reach out to someone that's either in the role already or somebody that actually works at Netflix, and let them know and say, hey, my name is Pearl. I'm super interested in this data science role. I'm currently in a boot camp, or I'm currently in school for a master's in stats. I'm trying to transition from teaching. I love it, but I know that I'm destined for more. I'm interested in more. And I was wondering if you would refer me. And you're probably sitting back and thinking, why would I ever do that to somebody I don't know? Because I know when my friend told me, I was like, that's kind of weird. I don't want to do that. And then they put it they put it down for me in a really easy way. And I want you to remember this. When you ask for a referral, y'all both win. So a lot of companies have referral programs, and the referral program allows the referral person, the person in the company, gets a certain bonus or a stipend or referral bonus just for referring you if you get the job. So it is no skin off their back to say, hey, Pearl, yeah, send me your resume. I think you might be a good fit as well. Let's get your resume to a recruiter, or let me import your resume to the portal, and let's see what happens from there. So definitely use that as a way to find jobs, build relationships with them as well. I think also an easier way, or a better way to go about it is also after they have gone ahead and done that for you, still try to build a relationship with them. Say, hey, how is your time at Netflix? What's it been like? What's the best thing about it? What's the worst thing about it? You can even do that before you actually ask for a referral. So you are aware of what you're kind of getting yourself into. You can also look for people that look like you, because I'm a firm believer that, experience as a Black woman in a company is going to be different from a white man in a company. Okay. So if you can find someone that is your demographic, is a woman, Black, whatever that you are, so they can give you what their experience has been like and recommend you and refer you to that position. So that's kind of my long but easy way to kind of get your resume to recruiters and into jobs.
Yeah, I'll try to follow up after Pearl really quickly. So I dropped an example, a concrete example of what that might look like to take your current experience and translate it into whatever it is that the role that you're targeting. I'm gonna go camera off because my internet is starting to lag. But I'm actually a hiring manager at my company, so I look at a ton of resumes and I'm the first person that someone meets with after they speak with the recruiter. And so some of the key things that really help a resume stand out for me is having metrics. And when I can see that the person really dissected the role and applied whatever their experience is to that particular role. So even with your, say you're a teacher, but you're applying for a project manager position, you can put teacher as your role, and then you can even put in parentheses project manager. This way to hit some of those keyword optics when it comes to your resume being scanned in the ATS applicant tracking system. But then in that experience section, only speak about the experience that's relevant to project management. So your resume has to be tailored for those specific roles. It cannot be general. So make sure to keep that in mind. Another thing with the LinkedIn reach outs, right now, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but for a lot of my peers, we just get so many inquiries from so many people every day that it can be challenging to just reach out to someone and not get drowned out, because just on an average day, I have recruiters back to back emailing me or adding me on LinkedIn, sending multiple requests in a row. If you want to increase the likelihood of me responding to you, have your LinkedIn on point, because that for me, it's like, okay, this person has done their due diligence to do as much as possible by having like an optimized headline, having an optimized experience section for the role that they're going after. So I know that it's going to be less of a lift for me to help them, and then it just increases your chances of doing that. So make sure you have like a succinct template for LinkedIn reach outs. If you go to my Instagram by following that link, I actually have a free template in my free guide that you can use. And I also have another free reach out on my Instagram. You can also add me on LinkedIn, and I'll please add me and I'll try to get to y'all as well. But make sure you do as much as you can beforehand.
Thank you. And yeah, sort of along those lines of, the resume, the LinkedIn, are there any other, we kind of slightly touched on networking, but are there any other areas or just kind of resources that everyone can use in terms of bolstering their just sort of, assets that they're going to share with the company and present themselves in a way that's going to sort of just really signify that they're the one for the job, despite not having the most technical space and background?
I would say to really leverage LinkedIn as much as possible, because that is the number one tool that recruiters are using. And I actually talk about this a lot on my platforms, that I don't apply to jobs apply to me. So I just don't. So that's how I get all of my interviews, and it's from a number of companies that I would be happy to work at, even though I'm very happy to work where I currently do. And I think really building yourself up on LinkedIn. So if you're taking those courses, when you complete a course, it gets posted to your profile. That's something that helps boost your profile and have it rank higher within recruiter searches. And even making like a short synthesis about what it is that you learned and how you applied it, and then using targeted hashtags for that role so that it's going to pop up in people's feed. I'm actually going to find a profile of someone who does this extremely well. I highly recommend you check out her activity. And she just got hired as a data engineer at a Web3 company after doing a 2 or 3 month boot camp with one of my good friends, my tech best friend. So I'll find that and share that.
Yeah, to add on to that, I think another thing is also don't be afraid to put like hobbies. I think one of the interesting interview questions I would get sometimes when I was applying for jobs was that I actually spent some time working with going to different meetups and being a part of Girls Who Code and some other Python meetups here in Houston when I first started because I wanted to network in person, not just through LinkedIn, but I also wanted to, because I'm a strong believer in teaching while learning as well, and that we all learn together that way. So if you have any opportunities where you are mentoring or helping lead the youth or even your colleagues, don't be afraid to add that to your resume and tell that story when you do interview because a lot of times when people are trying to break into tech, they have this mindset that they need to be all tech, like, oh, I need to know, I need to have this. And we still want to know that you're human, okay? Like, what do you do on the weekend? Like, it's, you get really like sprung on that fact. And I get it because you're so excited and you're looking forward to the transition. But I guess my main point here is, still make yourself come off as like human and personable, and that you do other things than just sit at home and code and learn how to code each and every day. Um, and don't be afraid to add your hobbies too. I know that recruiters actually do look at that. And please don't put stuff like, oh, learning new programming languages or something like something fun, like, oh, you make YouTube videos or you love, arts and crafts or something. So that would be my other recommendation.
Perfect. I have a few more questions before we might have time for Q&A. One is based off of, the time that you've spent in tech, what are some of the things that you learned as a teacher or an educator that you didn't think would be applicable to the space, but actually are?
I would say there is really no difference between teaching adults and teaching children. I guess maybe just the age. Regardless of where you're coming from, what background, but more specifically teaching, you're going to have people that really know their stuff. That's fine. But then you're going to have people that really don't know their stuff. You're going to have adults that are hard to teach. You're going to have adults that are hard to even talk with. Um, and so I think that my mindset when I was leaving teaching was like, okay, I'm gonna be a data scientist. I'm gonna teach business leaders how to, what data means or what these insights mean. And it's gonna be easier because they're adults and they're mature. And the truth is, um, they're not far off from children. Let me just tell you that. And so I think that me being a teacher, what helped me was understanding that everyone has a different personality. Everyone, comes from different backgrounds. And teaching allows you to see that ahead of time. You have a class of what, 30, 40 students. Um, some are from, broken homes, some are not. Some catch on to things easier, some don't. Um, and so being mindful of that and understanding that regardless of personality and background and differences, everyone does have a part to play. Everyone is here for a particular reason. And just being able to build relationships with people, regardless of, whether they're like you or not, is something that I think that teaching really helped me.
Perfect. Gianni?
Um, can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was sharing something in the chat.
Yeah, of course. Now that you have spent some time in tech, are there any skills that you didn't initially think would sort of transfer over or lessons that you've learned as a teacher, but they actually do apply quite a bit to your current role?
Yeah, honestly, I would say all of them. Like the level of patience that I have developed, for example, working with children really helps, especially when you're dealing with clients that have a lot of needs, and you just need to communicate with them in a way that just really communicates ease, and just kind of showing them that, trust the process, essentially. Also being able to translate things into like third grade friendly language, I would say, is really important, because especially when you're in some of these roles, you can get, when you're embedded, you can get caught up in the jargon, but not everyone is familiar with that jargon. So making sure that you're focusing on the ideas. And that's something I always said with my students, like, even if their spelling was off or the grammar or whatever, it's like, it's okay, we can work on that. I want to see what ideas you're communicating, and making sure that you understand, and then taking that same sort of value into the technical space. Sorry, I have my camera off. My internet is like lagging right now, y'all.
It's okay. It's a Tuesday. It's like, I don't want to be here. All right. Last question before Q&A and wrap up. Just kind of, if you were in this space right now with the rest of the educators on the call, sort of what would your advice be, whether it's, additional resources, confidence booster, anything? What's sort of the last piece of advice that you would share?
I think the main thing that I would want to share is, the great thing about tech is that no matter where you end up, there's a reason for why you're there, but even if you don't like it, there's a way for you to transition even within tech. Just like what I let you know, I started off as a data scientist. I am now working as a solutions architect. Um, Not the same, but kind of. I still need data science skills. I still need all the skills that I use as a data scientist plus more. So know that there is a place for everyone in tech. There is a place for you in tech, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't feel like you need to be boxed in, and know that, at any time you are more than welcome to transition, just like how you transition from teaching to tech. You can transition within tech as well.
Yeah, something that really helped me, I'm very spiritual. So I think it's important to think about yourself as the thing that you want to be, and just define yourself as that. So be it on your LinkedIn profile, don't say aspiring title, just say the title, and make sure that you're communicating that as much as possible, and thinking about, okay, as a as an instructional designer, what are the things that I need to do day to day, and embody those principles as much as possible. So something that I did actually on my coding journey is I wrote on the front of my coding notebook all of these affirmations for what exactly I wanted out of my tech journey, and I committed to that. And being able to see that day to day really helped me to fully embody those things, and make sure that I was always thinking with that at the front of my mind. And I think it has been super instrumental to my journey, because I just called it into reality. So for example, when I was starting to look at jobs, I said, I'm not applying to any jobs that require me to make an account on their site and submit a cover letter. And I didn't. And I got exactly what I wanted. So I think it definitely helps.
I love that, speaking it into existence. I need to do that for so many other spaces in my life. So thank you for that reminder. We have about 3 to 4 minutes. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. You can also unmute yourself if you do have any questions, but yeah, can open the floor. If not, I do have some follow-up. So are there any follow-up questions, or anyone would like to unmute themselves?
This one is from Gabriella. Uh, so Pearl, I really connected when you say that we all have the skills to have a seat at the table, and I am just struggling to get into the room. Any additional advice? Gabriella, get off mute. I want to ask you, are you currently in the process of breaking into tech? Are you already in tech? Can you elaborate a
Hey,
little bit?
yeah, so um, I had kind of an unconventional journey into education. My background's actually in human development, child development, and familial relations. Um, Life happened, COVID happened, and I became a teacher. Loved it, don't regret it. And I also know that like that's not my forever. Already took this step, I'm not coming back for the next school year, which is exciting. And now it's like crunch time. I'm like starting to feel like but I know that like I have the skills. Like I'm so confident that I can do it, but I'm just struggling to like get my foot in the door. I'm doing all the LinkedIn things that everybody's recommended, like contacting recruiters, messaging with my connections, like just really, putting myself out there and just not feeling like I am like being seen or like I'm able to like get past the resume stage. Because I agree with you guys, like all of us, if we're teachers, have amazing interpersonal skills. So like once we're in the room, it's we got it, secure the bag. But like I just can't seem to get into the room, and I'm trying not to get frustrated, but I'm like,
What are you trying to go for?
um it's actually so funny somebody just mentioned this. I'm really looking into UX research right now with the goal of eventually working at ed tech companies and like really, promoting accessibility for marginalized communities. That's like really where my heart's at. And I understand I might have to like do some other things along the way to gain some experiences, but I really think that UX research is like where I want to be.
That's awesome. Okay, so and when did you start this process? Like when did you were like, okay, I'm done teaching, now I'm trying to
3 weeks ago.
okay, that was gonna be my prime question, just because and I was gonna add this earlier, but you just started, girl. Like you literally just started, and I think that you already just talking to you, girl. You have that confidence, you have that drive. You already have made the decision in 3 weeks, which is not ordinary. So kudos to you. It took me about a month or two. But just knowing exactly what you want and where you want to go is the first step. I think that you should be definitely patient with yourself and with the process and know that, it's not going to happen overnight, although, I mean, I definitely wish it would. But I think in the meantime, while keep up with that confidence and stuff, find ways to add any additional skills. I know you want to do UX research. Are there any platforms that you've used? Have you built a portfolio? Are there any certs that you've done?
Yes. So yes and no. I just finished the Google Analytics cert, which yeah, it's exciting. Doing like the LinkedIn ones right now on like research, things like that. Looking into Coursera and things like that. But I'm right there with you, Pearl. I'm like all about the free before I have to,
Yeah.
dish out the money. And again, I understand that I'm an investment worth, pouring into. And there are also a lot of free courses. So I'm like trying to exhaust all those first. As far as portfolio goes, I'm not deep enough into it just yet, but I'm going to get there.
So that's my only recommendation then, because you are taking necessary steps. And if it's only been 3 weeks, girl, keep it up, keep going. Give it a month and a half, and then get back to me and see if anything is going on. But I think right now, since you are just starting and you still are trying to build yourself up, I think that you should definitely be patient and enjoy the process, girl. You will get there. You will enjoy. You're about to spend the next several years of your life, probably the rest of your life, doing this work. No rush. You got this.
I appreciate that hype. That I need that. Thank you.
Keep it up. No, seriously, you're doing great. I'm personally like, girl, I need to take a note from you because that is amazing. That's a lot of drive.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just I appreciate you guys' time.
You too.
Thank you. Lanice, I believe I saw your hand raised. So if you would like to unmute. Yep, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, no, I had my hand raised, but then
Yes.
Pearl ended up saying what I wanted to say. I'm also a teacher that transitioned into software engineering, but it's not about me, right? So, but I would definitely say a portfolio for Gabriella, and that can be kind of like coming up with ideas or analyzing a current site for a better user experience and like documenting it on like a YouTube, and then adding that YouTube link to your portfolio. I mean, to your resume, so that they understand exactly how you think and make sure that you have the correct vocabulary that's associated with the role. With that, I think that'll help you stand apart, and anyone who checks out your resume, they can already kind of know who you are before they even know kind of what you're about. Really, it's like, I think that you need a portfolio 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. I know we are almost at time, so this is a great time to share this link in the chat, because I know y'all are already connecting with each other, which is amazing. I have another link for you, which is Techsgiving has a Discord channel specific to teachers looking to transition into tech. So I think this is an awesome place if you'd like to sign up to keep each other accountable, hear how it's going, share all the LinkedIn referrals and connections, etc. In that channel. So that'll be a good place just again to build community, because definitely a good kind of step into the right direction. So just wanted to thank you all for joining today. Thank you for your questions in the beginning that you've asked during the session, as well as just all of the great info that's in the chat right now. It's clear, like we've already sort of built this little community here, so hopefully we can keep it going and really just be that sort of source of support for everyone in this space. Definitely want to shout out and thank our lovely panelists. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Gianni, for stopping by, taking time out of your day, dropping some knowledge. This was super helpful. And yes, everyone, as we can continue before we head out, share your LinkedIn, your profiles, etc. Love to connect with everyone. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you so much. This was great. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.